Hello, all. Might have a little echo. Hopefully, it's not much. And this is a replacement stream. I decked out in some of my Star Wars stuff, and I'm going to be reading this book, The Star Wars Myths and Fables, a little bit. I'm going to go through the first one to the last one. Not all at once. I'm only doing one today. Okay, so let's look at this. Oh, yeah. This was written by George Mon. Beautiful artwork on the front. Tell me if the second video camera works. Sounds like there's a little echo, but it should be fine. Did I see that? Disney Lucasfilm Press. I'll be reading Introduction and The Knight and the Dragon. We'll get to page 20. All across the galaxy, there were tales of waiting to be heard and stories longing to be told. Legends are passed down through generations, spanning millennia, stretching into the furthest reaches of space as they are carried from planet to planet. For stories bind our universe together. Whether whispered in quiet corners of cantinas, or shared while flying through funneled hyperspace, or simply told to little ones before they close their eyes at night. Stories are for every soul who wanders into this galaxy. Indeed, some power resides not in armies and empires, or on blasters and ancient weapons of light, but in the tales we share with one another. From the lowest homesteads on forgotten planets to glittering towers of bustling metropolises, from the hearts of smuggling dens to the tattered edges of wild space. Stories, regardless of origin or language, remain a powerful source of inspiration, instruction, enjoyment, and hope. As time cycles ever on and the great wheel of galaxy turns, such tales have provided over and over to be the seeds from which kingdoms and empires have grown, and the stuff from which great civilizations are built. Indeed, stories are the rhythm of all languages, the root from which shared understanding might flower, told to the youngest, whispered among the eldest, and enjoyed by everyone in between. But the pilots or patterns or pirates or soldiers or spies, farmers or senators, even creatures and droid pass on what they know to one another in the form of tales woven by time. Some legends caution against unspeakable dangers and warn the unwary about staying too far down a dubious path. Demonstrate one's place unto another of things that make vastness of the galaxy little less uncertain. Yet not all tales are cautionary in nature. A little bit of a drawing there. And some in their telling instead point us towards possibilities of far-off lands, unimagined people, thrilling adventures, in which ways such grand stories encourage us to test our limits, step into what our futures may hold. For all across the teeming galaxy, every one of us is living for our own story, trending on our own individual path. Sometimes we will stumble, sometimes we will stride, but no matter our destination, our tales will live on, told by those who live, we touch, rippling out across the stars throughout the generations, because stories are immortal, eternal. Here, then, are a few such tales sought from across the time and space and carefully transcribed. Whether they are true or simply echoes of things that once came to pass, no one can be quite certain. Trust, instead, before you lies more collection of words and pictures, and may you be embedded by the power held within these pages. I like the video position, and I'm going to do this. A little bit of a weight right here. Okay. How do I get the echo off? I'm going to try to do that before I start the main page. That was the introduction. Okay. Can I do this? Hello? Hello? Okay. Did that work? I can hear myself, but it's not echoing. Hopefully this works. This is page 1 of 20. Does it say the page numbers on them? Yeah. This is page 2 of 20, sorry. 3 of page 20. This must be page 1. Okay. Page 3 of 20. We see that art print from the front is printed on this page. See, there's proof. I like the color better on the front, obviously, but that's most artwork. Okay, let's jump into this. There was once a tribe of nomadic people on the distant, dusty planet of Tatooine, who, for many months, had been terrorized by a fearsome dragon. Those were a simple people with simple needs who had for generations eked out a uncomplicated existence on the harsh desert sands, trading with other tribes for wood, water, and substance, and trading with other tribes for. Ooh. Okay, trading with other tribes for water and substance. I didn't see that. Salvaging the wreckage left behind by those careless few who shared their world. Those others whose lives unfolded in the noisy cities and spaceports, who tried indefinitely to hold back the sand rather than embrace its gifts. The desert folk had little cause to visit those teeming cities, however, and although they had once roamed the rolling dunes and great caverns, they had found a place. I like that video. To settle. They were at one with the land and knew that the desert itself would provide them with everything they might need. So it was that the Sand People came to establish a village of their own, a place they might call home. For many months the village flourished, and food and water provided bountiful as the desert offered up its gifts. The villagers, once so used to their endless migration across the sands, grew complacent and comfortable. Yet in this ignorance they knew not that they had awoken the wrath of a great dragon, Kryat, that made its nest among the nearby dunes that they called domain its own. Kryat was sly and knew that the people of the sand were in no way equal in battle or cunning, so it developed a plan to rid itself of them. Just as the desert had provided for the villagers, it would provide too for the dragon. The people of the sand were numerous, and the dragon was ever hungry. If it rationed them carefully, the villagers would sustain it for many months to come. Okay. Soon enough, it would reclaim its domain from those interlopers once they were all inside its belly. But dragons are long-lived and lazy. Kryat saw no need to hurry. Thus, it chose to begin with the villagers' plump livestock, which they held in large corrals on the outskirts of the village. Only then did the entire herd had been consumed, would the dragon enjoy the taste of that which it so craved. People. Thus began the campaign of nightly terror, as the dragon, so large that the beat of its wings alone was enough to stir the sand of the great storms that ravaged the villagers' tents, descended upon the village to snatch at the meowling beast in their pens before hurrying away back into its sandy lair to feast. The villagers cowered at the mere sight of such a terrible beast, and in their fear they made no move to try to prevent the dragon's attacks. On the 5th day, however, the villagers were growing desperate, for they knew that if the dragon continued, soon there would be no livestock left in the pens. 2. Feed their children. That night, 10 of the village's most trusted warriors took up their arms and went to stand guard over the pens, in the belief that Together, they might provide strong enough to scare the beast into fleeing or even to slay it. As it had each night before, the dragon came with the setting suns, a vast and horrifying silhouette, starking against the reddening sky. On the huge wings it soared, sweeping low over the herds of the villagers, wheeling above them as they raised their weapons and took aim. Yet their weapons were ineffective and did so much as scratch the beast. Far from disulated, it brushed the villager's side with a flick of its wing and once more sailed away into the night with a squealing animal for its supper. In such a way it continued for many days, until the villagers' livestock had all been consumed. Like my hat. Star Wars. And the Sand People themselves lived in fear of what the dragon Cryet might do when it returned to discover the pens empty. Cryet, though, had planned for such an eventuality and had secretly willed that the day to come, because to a dragon there's no sweeter meal than the helpless villager. That night the dragon returned to the village to find the livestock pens had been abandoned. With a cackle of malicious glee, it turned to the village and beat its wings until tents were swept away in a blizzard of sand, and the people cowering beneath were revealed. For a moment the dragon seemed to linger. And then, licking its lips, it selected a young boy, whom it plucked from the mother's arms, carried away into the night. The boy was not the last of his peers to be lost to such a fashion, for Cryet soon developed quite a taste for children. The villagers took to hiding their young in pits beneath the sifting sands, but the dragon was wise and had seen such tricks before. It dug up the children like wriggling worms, one to feast upon the catch of the night. The villagers could stand for this no longer, and elected a warrior from amongst their number, whom they armed with their most precious weapons, adorned with their strongest armor, and sent out into the desert. To stir the dragon from its nest. The warrior carried vengeance in her heart. Woman. It could be depicted as a woman. Okay, this could be the story artwork. Okay. Oh. Hello, Mickey Bunch. I'm reading a Star Wars story, and I can talk a little bit about what I think about it after. I'm trying to do it live. Tell me if you hear an echo. Echo. I don't know if you do or don't. I'm trying to use my cell phone, which is this, and my computer as my background. with the green screen. It might be echoey, I don't know by how much. I'm trying to keep my voice low, very low, but still read it. Okay, I'm on page 8 of 20. The warrior carried vengeance in her heart, for she knew the dragon must pay for the lives it had stolen, and she boldly claimed that she would soon return with the beast's head as a trophy of her victory. The villagers cheered as she strode off towards the horizon, and in their hearts, for the first time in months, they carried hope for the future. That evening, the dragon did not return to the village. Cautious words of optimism were whispered around their hearthstones as the villagers enjoyed their first night of peace for a long time. And with the dawn, all agreed that the warrior must have been successful, and the only reason she had not yet returned was that she bore the weight of the dragon's head on her return journey. Collectively, they sighed in relief and believed the nightmare of their plight was over. Yet evening rolled around again, and still the warrior had not returned. Optimism once again gave way to creeping fear, and sure enough, as the sun dipped out of sight, the dragon appeared on the horizon. The villagers realized all they had achieved in dispatching the warrior was to save the dragon the trouble of coming to the village for the previous evening's meal. The campaign of terror had begun anew. So was that. In desperation, the villagers concocted another plan, certain that the dragon would not be disiluded and would keep on returning until every last one of them had been gobbled up. The villagers agreed that they must find an alternative form of substance to offer the dragon. The next day, a small band of villagers set out across the sands to where they knew a traveling band of fellow desert folk had temporarily made their camp. It did not please the villagers to lay siege to their own kin, but the dragon had left them with little choice, so the camp was hurriedly raided and the livestock stolen. It was a small herd, but it would buy them some time. So the livestock was driven back to the village and pinned in the corral, ready for the dragon's return that night. True to what they had gone before, the dragon came with the setting of the suns, but showed little interest in the livestock, for it had enjoyed the taste of people. The livestock would never again satisfy its hunger. The villagers wailed as it plucked another of the number from the sand, for soon, like the livestock, there would be none of them left, and their plan to distract the dragon had failed. There was only one resource left to them. If the dragon wanted people, then people they would give it. Yet they would no longer allow the dragon to take from amongst their own, for they already lost too many, nor would they be driven from the newfound home. For the desert had accepted them, and the months before the coming of the dragon had been happiest they had known. Thus, the raiding party that had set out on previous day did so again, only this time they had a different quarry in mind. It was 2 days before they returned, and they were pained by the knowledge of what those 2 days meant. That Criot would have planned 2 more visits to the village in their absence. 2 more of the people would have been lost. And yet, upon their return, they were welcomed as heroes, for they had brought with them 7 humans captured on the outskirts of the nearest town and marched along the winding pathways through the dunes. Most of the livestock corrals were empty, so the captives were herded into one such pen and bound. Upon the setting of the suns, one of them was chosen and tied to a stake outside the village boundary as offering to Criot. At first the dragon seemed unassured of the new development, perhaps suspicious of the villagers' intent, lest they meant to poison it. In truth, a thought had not occurred to the village, so desperate were they to save themselves. The dragon had, however, a most delicate sense of smell, and was soon able to discern that the offering was fresh and juicy, wriggled just as well as all the others Criot has plucked from amongst the villagers. The villagers were overjoyed, for the dragon had been sated, and their plan had worked. For the next 3 nights they continued to in such fashion, selecting one of the captives, petting the sacrifice out in the village boundary, and then going about their business while the dragon feasted. More raiding parties were raised, and further excursions to the nearest city yielded yet more captives. A solution had been found, and the people of the sand could once more go about their lives, assured that they had settled upon a means to appease the dragon. Yet once again the villagers had not counted on their actions invoking the wraith of another. An old knight who had once been regarded as a mighty hero had made his home in the desert world, where he long before been tasked with protecting a most peculiar treasure. The knight was tired from adventuring, and much like the desert people, he shunned the company of others, preferring a long solitude and quiet contemplation while he went about his final duty. Nevertheless, the old knight was of a altruistic disposition, and upon hearing that the people were being taken from the nearby town, he felt compelled to investigate. The knight soon discovered the perpetrators behind the disappearances, for the desert folk will not settle in their capture of the sacrifices, and still stealthy from his years traversing the galaxy, followed the raiding party back to the outskirts of the desert village. There the old knight learned the truth. The villagers were acting in desperation to protect themselves from the dragon Criot. Still, while he felt great sympathy for the villagers, all they had suffered, he could not allow such a thing to stand. The old knight had not seen battle for many years and had long before discarded his armor in favor of simple robes, all the better to conceal his true identity from the many enemies who yet seek him out on that backwater world. So it was that, upon deciding from the dunes of either of the village, the old knight was derided by the villagers, who challenged him and bound him and tossed him into the pen along with the other townsfolk. They had captured, for the villagers were blinded to the truth. They could not see the old knight still harbored a great and terrible strength in his weary old bones. He would, they decided, serve as another sacrifice to the great dragon Kraya, despite his advanced age and though leathery flesh. In his wisdom, the old knight played along with the villagers' games until, penned in amongst the other captives and unobserved by villagers, he shrugged off his bindings and set off to work, freeing the others from within. Soon the townsfolk had fled the pen, hurrying off into the dunes towards their homes, and the old knight stood alone, satisfied with his work and smiling. As the afternoon light came to wane, the villagers returned to choose a sacrifice from amongst the captives, but were infuriated to find only the old knight kneeling silently inside the pen, his eyes closed in peaceful meditation as he awaited his fate. With the little choice, lest they sacrifice one of their own, the villagers dragged the old knight to the village boundary and tied him to the stake before retreating to the safety of their tents to await the coming of the dragon. Sure enough, the day finally gave way to dusk. The silhouette of the dragon, vast and ominous, appeared in the horizon, its wings unfurled to the stir of rolling clouds of dust as it sped towards the village boundary. Circled once above the camp, eyeing the old knight, laughing at the sight of such a poor victim. Yet the old knight was wily and had once again slipped his bonds, for he had known the village would select him as their sacrifice. And as the dragon swooped low to pluck him from the sand, he stood and ignited his gleaming sword of light, which he raised above his head in warning, thus revealing his true nature to all who looked on. The dragon, dully unnerved by the sudden altercation, wheeled in the sky above the village, roaring his frustration that what it had assumed to be another simple sacrifice had provided to be something altogether more complicated. Sorry about that. Page 16 of 20. I'm almost done. Kryet was arrogant beast and knew that, despite the village trickery, for surely it had concealed the unlikely warrior before such a humble robes, one man could be no match for a beast's size and power. Kryet knew that it would not go hungry that night. Thus began the dance of such elegance and ferocity that the villagers all emerged from their tents to obscure as the dragon and the knight dipped and weaved. Kryet sweeping low with his whip-like tail and flashing talons, The knight, ducking and leaping, and the glowing blade of his sword humming through the air. He moved with a grace that belied, or that did not show his age, and the villagers knew at once, upon witnessing such a feat, that they had badly misjudged the man they assumed to be a pitiful traveler from a nearby town. For an hour or more the battle continued, and yet neither the dragon nor the knight had made a mark upon the other. So evenly matched were they that in wit and skill. The old knight understood that, as well fed and as strong as the dragon was, he could never defeat it in battle. Indeed, his display was designed to serve an altogether different purpose, for he soon began to tire, and he sensed the dragon's glee as he faltered in his fence and stumbled to the ground. Criet smelled victory and dove, and the old knight lowered his sword of light. The villagers gasped as the dragon swooped low, claws stirring the sand, jaws yawning wide to reveal a cavernous maw lined with ivory daggers. And then it stopped. The old knight had raised his hand above his head, his palm out towards the dragon. Mere centimeters from where its tapered snout hovered. The villagers held their breaths. The night had grown suddenly still. The old knight's blade flickered once, then blinked out. Then the dragon exhaled gently, issuing a contented sigh before lowering itself slowly before the ground. Like a loth wolf pup before its mother, the dragon cried prostrated itself before the knight, its head coming to a rest in the sand by its feet. Tentative at first and then suddenly rapturous, the villagers began to cheer and hoot in celebration, for they saw that the old knight had cast a spell upon the dragon to quiet its mind, and in doing so he had finally freed them from the reign of terror. But the knight himself was not easily placid, for he silenced the villagers with a look more fearsome than even that of the dragon. With a gesture, he made the dragon rise to its full height, towering over him, glowering at the assembled villagers. He just took a step forward, and the dragon followed in kind, subject to his every whim, some memorized by his spell. The dragon Criet is now under my thrall, and as such will do only my bidding. No longer shall you suffer from its nightly visits. The crowd began to cheer once more, but the old knight ushered them to silence again. You have wronged the people of the town, for you had taken your pain more near to theirs. This too shall cease, for if you ever raid the settlements of others, I shall learn of it, and I shall return with this dragon, and your village shall be destroyed. At that, the dragon stirred, spreading his wings as if to underline the old knight's point. Now, go in peace and return to your families and enjoy your gifts of the desert. Then the old knight turned his back on the people of the sand and slowly led the dragon away into the dusty night. The villagers never saw the old knight again, or his dragon, but they remembered his warning will. Thus, unique amongst the nomadic tribes of Tatooine, the villagers never again raided the settlements of others or took captives from their cities and towns on the desert world. Let's look at that. I need to find a bookmark, but I have one. Okay, so the history of these sand people follow pretty closely to, let's say, the story of Boba Fett, I believe it was called, The Mandalorian #2, the story of Boba Fett. His history, and I believe those are the same sand people they were talking about from beforehand. But they do have a different language, and I don't think they raid from other people. You guys can tell me later if so or if not, if that is the same sand people they are talking about that had the nomadic tribes of sand people. Interesting thought. They do speak a different language. I liked this first story was a good one at that. I would recommend getting this book or getting this just to have that story. It's so intertwined, and they displayed it majestically, I guess you could say, of like a tale or fairy tale or a myth or fable that they had of why they are the way they are, why they don't raid from other people, why they do trade. It all fits into it, really. Oh, right here. Huh. I would like to see in some of the comments what you guys thought of that first story. It did not dive into anything new, I guess, for Star Wars, but I did like it. And I will definitely enjoy reading the next one. So these are going to be random when I feel like reading this book. And I'm probably going to do it the same way as I did this one. Hopefully by rewatching I'll know if I have an echo. I hear it on my phone and I do not know if this is true in this stream or not, because I tried to mute the second camera. So I tried to mute my cell phone, it looks like, but I can hear it from the cell phone, my own voice. Can anyone tell me how to make it so either one or the other is muted and does not have voice coming through it to create the echo? Because I haven't really played with that before. I know there is a way to make it so one of them is always muted. I don't know how to do that. Please do put in the comments how to somewhat do that, or get me started on it to show me how to do it. It would help me greatly. Anyone is helps. So please do please do push right down there in the wonderful comments. Only subscribe if you do like my content, my streams, my little bit of lives that I do. Know full and well that I do have vlogs Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Those 3 days I have vlogs every single day this year, and I am now working on Vlogmas already. So I'm working all the way to on December for those 3 days for my vlogs, and barely started in December, so it'll take a little bit because I do Vlogmas every year, which is a vlog every single day of December. So look forward to that. Look forward to what I already put in, which was a vlog for my birthday. So vlog day, which is my whole birthday month. That's September. We'll have a vlog every single day that this year, and it's already placed in. It's already ready and already scheduled all the way through. So please do look into maybe looking into my partner channel, Space Mountain Dave Cantrell. He does a little bit more lives than I do, and everyone is learning how to do the vlogging. It works for a lot of people. It works for me differently, but I do like doing the vlogs. Please look through his content. If you like his content, please do subscribe to him. He's my partner channel, and he is polar opposite of me in a way for lives. I do as many vlogs as he does lives, so it goes back and forth. Hello Dave. I'm just about to end this, so no one has to look at the whole thing, but it's going to be on Please Rewatch Party. Please do rewatch it. I read the first story from this book, Star Wars Myths and Fables. It talked about the Sand People and a old knight, which I believe was a Jedi. I'll see you tomorrow, Dave. I can't wait to talk with you. Can you tell if I have echo or not? I do not know if I do. It sounds like I don't. Oh. Hello to Disney Baker. Hello, Dave. Everyone's coming right when I'm trying to end it. I can talk a little bit. I just want to know if this creates an echo in my stream, because I do not know if cell phone and computer create echo. And I think I got it so it doesn't. Oh, Molar Man. Oh, man, a lot of people are coming in at the end. That's fine. Okay, so I just read a fable. Myths and Fables from Star Wars. I just read a fable from the Sand People from this book, and I really did like this book. I give it 2 thumbs up. And I'm going to end this, but guess what? Anyone who wants to join me tonight, in a few minutes, I'm going to start up just a regular chat. I don't care what we talk about. Anyone and everyone is invited, and that way this book reading will be put into a different stream that way too. So please watch out for me, and we could talk about whateverness. We could talk about what's happening with Disney right now, and I will be talking, if no one joins in, about my last trip that has just got passed. Oh, yeah. A lot of people are watching that. That doesn't interest me. So, please do join me in a few seconds on my channel so we can chat whateverness.